Okay, so great. As I mentioned, today we're going to talk about why you should consider studying abroad in Japan. Okay, yes, some of you here are lecturers of the university, and you might potentially be thinking about graduate program as well. So this is not just for students, but for anyone who might be interested, right? So today we will talk about a few things. Our table content. So first, I want to talk to you a little bit about the organization that I belong to. Okay, I work for an organization called Study Abroad Research Institute. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction about what this organization is and how why we're here to talk to you about this particular topic. After that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of studying abroad in Japan. Okay, that's the main part of why you should consider studying here. From two perspectives. One is about the salaries and the living conditions of somebody who graduates from a Japanese university. And second is how expensive it is to get a university education in Japan. Okay. And after we go through that, I will talk to you a little bit about how our organization can help you get into a university in Japan. Okay. So that's our topic for today. Like I said, it should take around 30 minutes, more or less, so it wouldn't be that long. Okay. First, let's start with talking about what our organization is. So our organization, we're a nonprofit organization. We're not a business. We're a student organization. So we're a bunch of foreign students who live in Japan and study in Japanese universities, and we want to help other foreigners to study abroad here in Japan. Okay, many of you have never thought about the idea of studying in another country, but we're here to talk to you about how possible that is. We're based in Japan. Okay, all of our members are here in Tokyo. And currently, we're primarily reaching out to African students like you to introduce them to universities in Japan. Okay, and we don't charge you any money for this service. So our job is to tell you, African students, about universities in Japan, but we also talk to schools and governments so that they can accept more foreign students. So like here, we talk to you, the students. We talk to the government to make sure that they have the right policies to accept more students. And we talk to the universities, okay? We talk to the Japanese universities so that they become more interested in accepting foreign students. Now, why are we doing this, right? So why is our organization interested in helping people study abroad in Japan? Okay, so that's a little bit related to my personal background. Okay, so this is just my self-introduction. So I was born in China. Then I moved to Japan when I was 5 years old. And then I moved to the US when I was 12 years old. I studied in many different countries. I studied in the US, studied in Australia, I studied in the UK, and I studied in Japan. And I'm currently still studying Japan. Okay. And before I came back to Japan, I was working in Tanzania, right, for about 2 years for a nonprofit organization there. And when I was working in Tanzania, I applied to a Japanese university directly from there. So I have personal experience applying to a Japanese university from Africa. So I know it's possible, and I know how it's something that everybody can do, and not many people think of it as a possibility. Okay, so that's why I want to specifically talk to African students to help them get into Japanese universities. It's more based on my personal experience. So that said, what are the benefits of studying Japan? Why would you consider studying abroad here? Okay, so first I want to talk to you about the kind of life from a financial perspective after you graduate from a Japanese university. Now, salaries are quite high in Japan for university graduates. So here are some numbers. In 2019, the average annual salary in Japan is about 40,000 US dollars, okay, or about 4 million Japanese yen. So that's the average for university graduates. And for people living in Tokyo, which is the biggest city and the capital city here in Tokyo, here in Japan, the average is even higher. It's about $50,000 a year. So for people who work in very high demanded fields, okay, for example, IT, right, they make even more money. So for instance, IT consultants, which is having a very high demand right now, right? They make more money. They make around $58,000 a year. And for people who go to graduate programs, if they go to master's or PhD, they're paid even more than the average. Masters are paid about 23% more on average, and doctoral degree holders are paid about 42% more. So the longer you go to school, the more likely that you'll be paid once you graduate. Okay. Now, so you saw the numbers here of the average salary, but this is, of course, for mostly Japanese people. So why would you, the foreigner, consider going to Japan, right? One of the reasons is that Japan is having a shortage of workers right now. Here's a graph of the number of jobs available for the number of people who are applying for jobs in Japan. So in 2019, you see that there are almost 2.5 jobs, 2.5 jobs available for every person in the country who's looking for a job. So you can see that there is a very strong shortage of workers, so that there are more jobs available than people. So that's why they're looking for more foreigners to go to Japan to take up the jobs, because there are too many jobs and not enough workers. And this will only become worse in the future because Japan's population is declining. So here's a graph of Japan's population. So right now, Japan's population is about 130 million, a little bit less than 130 million. By the end of the century, in 2100, the population will go down to about 85 million. So you can see that the number of people who live in Japan is shrinking. Right? So if there are fewer people in the country, then that means there are fewer workers. So that means they need more workers from outside the country to come here so that they can work. And because there are fewer workers available, everyone will make more money. Okay, the salary will only go up higher. So that's the main financial benefit for you to come to Japan. Okay. Now, so you saw that, okay, for somebody who graduates from a university in Japan, you can make a good amount of money. So how expensive is it to study here? Now, compared to some countries, Japan can be very cheap. And this is especially true if you compare to many Western countries. For instance, I went to a school called Yale in the US, where school is about $44,000 a year, right? So that's quite expensive amount of money. This is a school in the UK called London School of Economics, where I also went to school. The tuition is somewhere between 30,000 to 50,000 US dollars, depending on the course, which is quite similar to the figure in the US. University of Sydney, Australia, this is somewhere else I also went to school, has around the same amount in terms of fees, right? It ranges from $26,000 to $41,000 a year. So what I'm saying that is these countries, they're all very expensive. Now compare that to Japan. So the University of Tokyo, where I currently study, is about $5,000 a year. Okay, so you can see compared to the other countries, Japan can be much cheaper. But you might say that, okay, $5,000 a year is still a lot of money, and how do I pay for that, right? So many of you are probably interested in scholarship opportunities, and Japan does have quite a bit of that. So every year, the Japan Student Services Organization, which is a government organization to help students get scholarships, publishes a pamphlet that includes all the main scholarships that are available to foreign students. So I took a look from the pamphlet last year to see what kind of scholarships are available for foreign students. Well, there are many kinds. The best ones are the national government scholarships, which offers students free tuition, so you don't have to pay for school fees, round trip airplane ticket from home, right? So you fly from Sierra Leone to Japan, and after you finish with school, if you want to go back to Sierra Leone, the scholarship pays for that, so you don't have to pay for the airplane ticket. And after that, you still get about $1,400 in cash every month so that you can spend on your living expenses. There are also more than 30 regional government scholarships. Depending on where the school is located, you might qualify for one of these. These ones also give you free tuition, so you don't have to pay for school fees, and gives you close to $1,000 every month for living expenses. And beyond these government scholarships, there are also more than 90 private foundation scholarships offered by different companies or different charities or different NGOs in Japan. On average, these pay about $2,000 a month in cash that you can use for your tuition or living expenses. Right, so even just this pamphlet includes more than 120 scholarships that are available for foreign students. But beyond this pamphlet, every university also have information on other scholarships that are available to their students. So the number of scholarships that are available for foreign students to apply is much more than 120 that I mentioned here. Okay. But aside from scholarships, many students also find ways to earn money outside of school. So a Japanese student visa allows students to work part-time for about 28 hours a week, even while they go to school. Okay. So many students, foreign students, come to Japan, they go to school, but they also work at the same time to earn some extra money on the side. Here are some jobs that foreign students tend to do. One is teaching English. Okay, teaching English pays about $39 per hour. If you work in a store or restaurant, it pays about $14 per hour. And if you work on a construction site or factory or warehouse, it pays about $28 an hour. So these are all per hour wages, and you multiply by 28 hours a week, that's quite a decent amount of money, right? So people who work hard every week can save quite a lot of money, even if they don't get scholarships. Now, so that's how you pay for school in Japan. Now the question is, how do you get into a university in Japan? How our organization can help you? So we're here to help you take your first step towards studying Japan in several different directions. One is help you find resources to learn the language. Okay. There are many students ask whether Japanese universities have all English programs, and there are some all English programs, but there are many more programs that are only in Japanese or mainly in Japanese. And once you graduate from university and you go to a workplace, most jobs in Japan require you to have some Japanese language skills. It's very difficult to find a job here without knowing any of the local language. So to learn the language, even if it's not for school, is something that you should certainly do. Yeah. We can also tell you about where to apply. We work with different universities which have different programs that are offered to foreign students. So we can provide information to you about that. We also tell you how to apply. Okay, each of our partner universities also provide information on what you need to do to go through the application process. Okay, we provide information on that. And finally, we can provide you information about what is it like to live in Japan. Of course, none of you have ever been to Japan, so you probably have very little knowledge about what is it like to live here day to day. Of course, I am in Japan, and many of my colleagues in this organization are in Japan. So we're willing to provide information on what is it like to live in this country, even outside of school. Now, as I mentioned just now, we have direct partnerships with many Japanese universities. So we contact the admission officers and the universities. And these admission officers give us program information that are not usually available online, or if you search for it, it could be very difficult to find. So we provide you that information as well as extra tips and advice to help you get into university in Japan much easier than if you're looking for the information yourself. And that's it. That's my presentation. I will share these links, including our website as well as our social media later on after we're finished with this presentation and the Q&A session. I will contact you afterwards. So yeah, I think that's it for now in terms of my presentation. Now I just want to see if anybody has any questions before we finish. If you have any questions, please let me know. I can answer now. Okay.
Thank you for your presentation.
Please go ahead.
And I am sure we've learned a lot from you.
That's great. Thank you very much.
And the presentation is simple to understand. I hope that my colleagues are also following up. I have a few questions. To ask.
Okay, please.
The first one is, are you planning to formalize the relationship between you and the University of Makeni, in the sense that maybe we can get a partnership agreement where we can get clear terms from your side and from our side here? Are you getting me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. Okay, I think we lost you, Matthew. Are you still here? I think we lost you.
Yeah, the network.
Yeah, I think there's a network problem.
Yes. I was saying, Are you getting me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Challenges with the internet here. Whether you have plans to formalize, whether you have plans to formalize agreement where both terms are well understood from your side, from our side here, from the University of Makeni.
Okay. Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah, that's clear. Yes. Yeah. So let me just answer that first question really fast. So the question was whether we will form a formal relationship with the University of Makeni so that we have clear terms of engagement moving forward. Many other universities that I have did a sort of similar presentation to in the past have asked similar questions about a formal arrangement. Unfortunately, I think many universities, I think for you, it's probably same. If you want a partnership, you probably want to sign directly with the Japanese university so that there is formal engagement from university to university. I think that would be of the greatest benefit to you and to your students. As I mentioned, our organization is a student organization. We're not a university. We do work directly with many partner universities, but we also, when we ask our partner universities about their plans to partner with foreign universities, many of them are currently very unclear. Right, they're not willing to engage because of the current COVID-19 crisis, and it's very hard for them to come to a decision in this short term about forming any kind of formal partnerships with foreign universities. So I think this is something that we can explore in the future, in the more mid to long term, but in the short term, it might be very difficult. At the moment, I think it'd be best for you to think of us as something like an information provider, that we provide information to you about how students can apply to universities in Japan and what are the process for doing so. Okay. I don't know if that answered the question, but yeah. Great.
It's clear. It's clear.
Okay, I'm glad you can hear me. Okay, I think there's a hand raised from Maharaj. If you want to speak, please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning again. Thank you so much for the presentation. Must admit you're doing a great sacrifice. Like you said, you are a non-profit organization. And you are a student organization for that matter. So it takes a lot to be able to have this kind of organization set up and running. We appreciate you. I am just concerned about the scholarship opportunities and this COVID pandemic, whether they will still be running normal in terms of the capacity they used to take, and I mean, whether schools will operate as they used to before COVID. Yeah, that's just a concern I'm having.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. This COVID pandemic has not been great for foreign students. Currently, is Japan's foreign student intake is much lower than before the COVID pandemic, and until the pandemic finishes, it will remain much lower. So of course, the universities that we work with, they mentioned that their programs are still taking applications from foreign students. But due to the pandemic, it's very difficult to say whether this will change in the next few months or whether they will increase the number of foreign students they take. So because of the pandemic, many things are still changing. So it's very hard for us to say, or even for the universities to say, whether they will be willing to offer more places for foreign students in the near future. So the short answer is that, yeah, we'll have to continue monitoring the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
My bad.
Any other questions?
Hello.
Go ahead.
I'm also concerned about issues of race.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing we should not ignore. I don't know how the climate in Japan regarding a race looks like.
Yeah.
You know, with all the race issues going around in the US, in Europe, you can't ignore that other parts of the world like Asia might also be, you know, a kind of thing, sort of thing. Yeah, so how is it like in Japan?
Yeah. So in previous presentations, somebody asked exactly the same question. My answer is that compared to Europe or the US, there are very few Black people in Japan, right? So in the latest data that's available, there are only about 8,000 African students in the entire country of Japan, right? And Japan has about, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, it has about 130 million people. and there are only about 8,000 African students. So if you come to Japan, you're in a very, very, very small minority. And unless, for most Japanese people, unless they go look for Africans, okay, they will never find any, right? They will not easily meet an African person in their daily life, okay? So that said, most people are not racist, but they are very ignorant, right? They don't understand anything about African culture, okay? They don't understand that African culture have different ways of thinking, okay? So they're very curious about how other people think, because many people have no opportunity to meet foreigners in their daily life. So if they meet you, if any Japanese person meets you in Japan, they will, of course, ask you a lot of questions, and some of them can be construed as not so friendly. But of course, they're not deliberately being unfriendly, but they're just ignorant of foreign cultures. So I wouldn't say people are not racist, but they're not deliberately racist. They're mostly they just don't know what they're saying. Okay, if they say something racist, they don't know it's racist. So that's the situation in Japan.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we heard a lot about Japan like being peaceful. Yeah, in terms of tidiness, you know, those are good stuffs. It's really might be refreshing experiencing some of those good things we've been hearing.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone?
Okay, we're also waiting for others to maybe make up questions. Can I also ask you, in your presentation, you said your organization also provides support, like when students arrive there, apart from the supports, the guidance during the application process, you also provide other supports. What are these support basically? Like
so I guess it really depends on what kind of support a foreign student need, but like for example, we can start with the obvious ones. For instance, once you come to Japan, you need help with housing, for instance, right? To find where you live, right? You might need support with getting around, setting up daily life here. For example, I don't know, buying furniture or setting up a bank account, getting a phone number, all of these small things. Generally, universities will help with this, but it's not guaranteed that they will help 100%, okay? They have limited capacity on the university side as well. So if the universities cannot help with certain things, then we are willing to be your first point of contact if you need any help, right? With these daily life sort of things, right? And of course, if you have a problem communicating with the university staff, we're also willing to help communicate. But generally, the universities they have somebody who speaks English at least. So generally, they're okay. So it shouldn't be that big of a problem. But yeah, generally, if you need any help with daily life that the universities cannot support, then we're willing to step in to help.
Okay, no, that's good. So does that mean you have representatives in all your partner universities?
No, we do not have representatives. We're a student organization, so we have students who are in those universities, but they're not.
Yeah, that's what
they're not. Yeah. So, but they're not staff of the university. They're students of the university. So
students. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So does that mean if a student from Sierra Leone now got a Japanese scholarship through your organization, does that mean the person becomes a member of your organization, or he has to apply or find out a way to apply or to be part of it?
Well, I mean, if you're willing to help with what we do, then yes, you can certainly be part of our organization. But we're not a student organization that is affiliated with a certain university, right? We work with many universities, but we're not registered in any of the universities that we work with. We're an independent university organization, independent of any university. So, yeah, if you're willing to help us, you're of course always welcome to join us. But yeah, that also depends on your situation once you come to Japan.
Okay. Just a follow-up question on that too, sir.
Yeah.
So do you sort of have like a blend of people from different backgrounds in your organization? Like, let's say you have Africans as part of your organization?
Yeah, if you can look at our website, we actually have 2 advisors who are based in Africa. One is in Nigeria and one is in Liberia, and they're supporting us locally with talking to students. Of course, they're mostly supporting people there rather than here in Japan. So here in Japan, we have our own students, and some of them are African. Okay, but I don't think there's anyone from Sierra Leone yet. Yeah, I don't think so. But there are some African students, and we can certainly put you in touch if you are interested in. Yeah, once you apply. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The reason I ask if you have a blend of people from different backgrounds is the courage or the confidence somebody will have in relating to the organization. Mm-hmm. You might need somebody who they have, similar characteristics. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, sort of that. Like if I go to Japan and I am struggling with certain things, say, for example, health-wise, and maybe someone from my country or my region can understand me, or I can trust to relate to. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm asking if you have a blend of.
So that is something that the university can help you better than we do, because every university have foreign student organizations, foreign student community, right? So for bigger universities, they have African student organizations on campus that connects different African students who are in that particular university. Okay, and those people will be able to give you much more information about that particular university than we do, right? I mean, we know some universities, but we don't know all universities, right? Some universities we're not very familiar with. So once you get into a particular program, then foreign students from that universities can provide you with much more specific advice about how to survive in that university. That's the kind of information that we don't have in our organization. Yeah.
Okay. That's very helpful. So how is most of these scholarships you talked about in your presentation, how is the mode of applications? Is it online, or like you have to post them by mail?
So the scholarship applications are only available after you get into a university. Okay. We'll provide you all the information about different programs that we have. And once you're accepted into an academic program, then the school will have to start your application process for the scholarship, because school needs to provide the scholarship foundations and the government the information that you have already been accepted into their program. And then they can consider you for a scholarship. So how the scholarship application works, it really varies from school to school and from scholarship to scholarship. But either way, the first step is for you to get into a university. Yeah, that will have to happen before the scholarship application even starts.
So is it guaranteed that if you apply or you are accepted to a university, you get a scholarship?
No, it's not guaranteed. There is no guaranteed scholarship anywhere. So even if you apply and are accepted, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. I was saying, like one of the conditions is to get admission, right?
Yeah.
Get admitted to a university,
right,
to be considered.
Right.
Right. So what if you apply and then the university accepted you, and then, I mean, does that gives you a chance or something to be considered for scholarship?
Of course, you'll be considered for a scholarship, but just because you are accepted into a program, not 100% of all students get scholarships. Only certain part of students get scholarships, right? So yeah, so once you are accepted into a program, it's still not guaranteed that you 100% get scholarship to attend. There is a application process there, and only some people will be able to get scholarships. As for how many people do and what percentage of people do, it really depends on the school and depends on the scholarship. So it's very hard to say. Yeah, but yeah, unfortunately, it's not 100% of the people who will get scholarships.
So there is a challenge here. If a student received the scholarship, got the scholarship, and our challenge here is we don't have Japanese embassy in Sierra Leone.
Right. Yeah.
Is there any way,
so
if the student get the scholarship, can that student be accompanied to where Sierra Leone is affiliated?
So I think there is a misconception among students that scholarships needs to go through the local embassy. Our experience that it doesn't have anything to do with the local embassy, right? Of course, the visa application process needs to go through the embassy. That makes sense. But the scholarship has nothing to do with the local embassy. Even if you go get a government scholarship, you do not need to have an embassy in the country for you to receive the scholarship, right? Because it goes directly from the Japanese government here in Japan to you, the student, right? So it doesn't have to involve the local embassy, right? And
for the visa,
sorry, go ahead.
For the visa, you need I think you need a visa before traveling.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So the visa application process will take place in a nearby embassy. You mentioned that there is no Japanese embassy in Sierra Leone, which is probably true, but it doesn't mean that there's no one in Japan from Sierra Leone, right? And the people who are the people from Sierra Leone who are in Japan today, they all apply for a visa from a nearby Japanese embassy. Yeah. So the embassy doesn't necessarily need to be in your country of residence. Okay, it could be a nearby one. And yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Can you hear me? I think there might be an internet issue. Cannot hear you. Anyways, while we wait for the internet to be better, is there any other questions from anybody else on the line?
Yes. Can I ask a question, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. My name is Sahid. Now, I want to ask with regards the language, right? Because we know there is a Japanese language. I want to know if someone happens to get the scholarship, will that individual be asked or required to learn the Japanese language before graduation?
It depends on the program. So as I mentioned earlier during the presentations, that there are some there are some English-only academic programs with the universities. So if you're enrolled in one of those English-only programs, then you're not required to learn the Japanese language before you enter the program. because you don't use Japanese in your program. But most programs that are available, even for foreigners, they require some level of Japanese language. Okay, so in those programs, there will be, like you said, a requirement to learn the Japanese language to a certain degree before you are enrolled. But generally, what happens is many students, they go to Japan first and go to a local language school there for some time before they formally enroll in the university itself. Okay, so they go to a language school to learn the Japanese language for several months, or for sometimes a year, 2 years, to a point where they can at least speak some of the language, and then they will be formally enrolled in the programs that they were admitted to. Okay, so that's usually the process of how language learning works.
Again, I don't know, maybe because I joined late, sorry if I repeat a question that has already been asked.
That's
now,
okay.
Let's assume someone applied and the person is fortunate, he got a scholarship, and then he went to Japan to do the course. And at the end of the day, that particular individual happens to get another appointment to stay in Japan. Let's say an opportunity that it will take a very long time for that person to return back home.
Okay.
What's the kind of agreement or situation? Is it possible?
So you said this person got a scholarship and was enrolled in a course, then he graduated and got a job. Is that the sort of situation you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So realistically speaking, if you have a full-time job after you graduate, then your student visa will be converted into an employment visa. So you'll be able to legally stay in Japan and work in that full-time job, right? But as I mentioned earlier, most jobs in Japan require some level of Japanese language. Okay, so you do need to know some of the language in order to work here, right? So it'd be very difficult to find a job that doesn't require any Japanese language at all. Yeah, so even for the purpose of getting a full-time job here, you will need to learn the Japanese language. But as for getting a job here, it's very much possible, and many foreign students do so, right? And many foreign students, they come here, they study, and they graduate, and they stay here after they graduate and work full-time in Japan, and they stay for years to work. So that is very much possible. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Any other question from anyone? Well, if there's no other questions, then I think we can finish for today. I will send an email after this with the links to our website as well as our social media. So you can take a look at our website, where all the information about our partner universities are on our website. Okay, so you can see how to apply for universities here, and you can take a look at what kind of programs are available, and then yeah, you can decide whether this is something that really interests you. Yeah. That's it. If there is no other questions, then we'll be finished for today. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining me, and I will email again soon with all the details that I mentioned. Okay. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Have a good day. Bye-bye now.